questions now. Each of you will have a chance to go first. Again, we're going to start with Olivia Chow for the first one. And here's the question. Transit is a critical issue all across Toronto. However, people with disabilities are heavily reliant on Wheel-Trans and community bus service to get around. Often, people with disabilities experience long wait times and have difficulty planning trips. Here's the question. How will you address the needs of people who require accessible transit into Toronto's long-term strategy plans?
We've been working towards creating an accessible transit system for 15 years, and we're not there yet. And as your new mayor, I'll make sure it gets done. Our buses are fully accessible, but our streetcars are not. The first ones start on Bathurst in August of this year. We've also got to speed up the pace of making subway stations accessible, which has slowed under Mr. Ford. And I'm the only candidate talking about the TTC backlogs of repairs, which is necessary in order to make the system accessible. We need to buy more Wheel-Trans bus. We've been promised for many years, still not done yet. Next, and I would persuade the province to return the taxes our city generates by paying a share of the operating cost of Wheel-Trans so that the service is funded properly.
Thank you, David Soknacki.
Thank you very much, Steve. We have a shortfall, below the line, as they say in budget parlance, of hundreds of millions of dollars in our TTC budget. That's not only for accessibility, that's not only for wheelchair issues, but that's also for health and safety issues. And these are all critical issues that we need to address, far, far more importantly than putting lines on the map and drawing new lines for new transit lines. We need to make sure that these items are available for Torontonians of all abilities and all disabilities. The only way to do so is not to waste money on existing transit projects, but to invest in transit projects that are approved, transit projects that will be built faster and made available to those who are with or without disabilities. That's why I support the LRT. That's why I support using those funds for other transit projects, including looking after those huge backlogs on health and safety and on accessibility.
Thank you, David Soknacki. Karen Stintz, please.
Thank you. There is no question that we have to improve Wheel-Trans. We know that. But more importantly, we need to make sure that the conventional system is accessible for all. And for too long, we've had streetcars that people can't use if they have a disability. That will change. It's taken too long, but it will change. And I was very proud, as chair of the TTC, to be able to introduce a motion that exempted caregivers from traveling with a person with a disability, whether on the conventional system or on Wheel-Trans. So if someone's traveling with someone who needs assistance, that person doesn't have to pay a fare. Because I understand how important dignity is to people, and they need to be able to get around on the conventional system. We need to make sure that those elevators are put in on every single station by 2025 to honor the commitment that has been made, to make sure that the system is accessible, to make sure that people with disability have the same access to transit as everyone else in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen Stintz. John Tory, please.
I'll just mention four things, but two of them just fit into the category of better management, which is going to make a huge difference to people who are disabled. Wheel-Trans. Wheel-Trans, 65% of the calls to get service come in by phone. And the Auditor General says 40% of those phone calls weren't answered. The phone was never answered. How can you get service when you're not answering the phone? It's a fairly straightforward thing to fix that actually doesn't cost a lot of money, but it'll make a big difference. Secondly, the schedule for making stations more accessible. Somehow, it ended up being the case that some of the busiest stations are the ones that are put off the latest on the list, 2018 and years after that. Surely there's a way we can prioritize the ones that have the most people going through them. I know sometimes they're more difficult. Build the Scarborough subway. It's a great long-term investment, and because it's going to be new, it's going to be fully accessible. And build the Smart Track line I talked about to get people around the city, because it is going to have new stations which are all going to be fully accessible from day one, and the trains as well.
Thank you, candidates. Here's time for question number 2.